request Mr. Bhaskar Bhat, our guest of honor, to give us his very interesting lecture on impact of productivity on India's manufacturing competitiveness. Mr. Bhaskar Bhat.
Hello. Can you hear me? Yeah. Good morning, Mr. Ramdas, members on the dais, respected jury members. Before I start my presentation, I must tell you, one of the doyens of the watch industry, the late Mr. IMTMA-ACE, once told me productivity was walking up the escalator which is moving up. When you walk up, that is productivity. It was very clear to me. Thereafter, I realized that productivity is not just in manufacturing, it is across all spheres of life. And as Mr. Ramdas read out my CV, I think you must have seen how come I have the right to speak on manufacturing productivity. And most of my life I've spent in sales and marketing. But it is from manufacturing that other disciplines have learnt about productivity. So today, whether you, in fact, in the early days of sales, we used to measure productivity in terms of number of calls a person would make in a day. Thereafter, the value of the order per call, and then not just the value per order, you then would say what is the quality of the order, which is what profitable products were booked in the order, and so on. So that is my engagement with productivity. But more recently, all of us living in Bangalore, we lament about the traffic, but we become more productive in the traffic. I just finished this presentation on the way from Indiranagar to BIEC. The long 56-minute, Google tells you 56 minutes, but the reality becomes, as the day prolongs, it gets worse and worse. So it helped me put together this presentation. So productivity comes in all shapes and sizes, in all forms. But without our experience really has been limited to our experience, my experience in Titan. So I will share our thoughts on this subject. When we talk productivity, invariably we talk, comparisons with what another country with more than 1 billion people has experienced. China's enviable growth has been, many of us are aware, are now either disappearing or diminishing. But what we must admire about China is they have moved to another level of technology, not just mass manufacturing. Market-oriented reforms, of course, contributed to its manufacturing revolution. Now, through the Made in China 2025 strategic plan, the government is incentivizing Chinese companies to leapfrog on the technology front. In fact, we had at one time experienced this in a very small way as we started sourcing components from China for watch business. But in another business, we were better off than China because it was a slightly advanced technology business. But we realized that today, aerospace, for example, China was not competitive enough in aerospace. But today, they are leapfrogging, and their vision is quite bold and challenging. Therefore, leapfrogging on the technology front by encouraging manufacturers to upgrade their factories in terms of quality, productivity, and digitization. I think the challenge between productivity, automation, and employment has faced every country, every company, every microcosm. I don't think that debate will ever stop, but productivity is good for all. We know, at least from our experience, there are 4 problems that India faces when it comes to productivity. One is our cost and quality of energy, cross subsidies, along with additional tax like coal, cess, RPO. In fact, you will be surprised, and I'm associated with that, not industry, with that business. Tata SIA that he read is called Vistara Airlines. And today, in the world's fastest growing industry, aviation industry, India has been growing at a CAGR of 20%. You have had, over 10 years, you've had two premier airlines collapse. One airline going between significant profits and significant losses. The national airline losing every day. And most airlines not making money. So if you look at cess, it is aviation fuel cess, which makes us, I don't know, not uncompetitive. Certainly there are industry-related reasons, but I'm just giving you an example from aviation industry. High logistics costs, I think all of us are aware. 60% of our cargo travels by road. And it is not that cargo can't travel by road, but you are aware that our roads are not good enough. Of course, the Golden Quadrilateral, etc., have helped, but productivity on road is the problem. We can cut time significantly for goods to reach point A to point B. Growing skill mismatch and low labor productivity. This is, I think, all of you must be facing every day. It is a very big problem, I do feel, and it is not just a manufacturing problem. We do have a big mismatch of skill sets, and it is society, I believe, which in a way is responsible. All our MSMEs that I know of are looking for basic skill sets, including plumbing, electrician, welding, carpentry, and so on. They are not able to find people, sufficient enough people. And the engineers that we produce are not good enough to be employed. That is what I hear. I'm not saying, that is not a judgment that I'm passing on the engineering education system in this country, but this is what people are facing. Now, societal problem is you want to make your son an engineer, but the skill required is in some other area. This problem continues whether you look at manufacturing, you look at marketing, old world skills versus new world skills. Our educational institutions are not catching up on many things like digitization, digitalization. Digital marketing today is the way to go, whereas we are still in the old world of advertising on television. The last but not the least, negligible R&D investments. I do believe that China has leapfrogged, maybe not specifically in R&D, but investment in new technologies. R&D investments are big time in the Western world, certainly in Europe. I'm associated with one of those companies, Bosch, 10%. I mean, it's an 80 billion euro group, and they still spend 7 billion euro annually on R&D. That for a seemingly supplier to the automotive industry to be able to invest that kind of money in R&D and yet be one of the most profitable companies, certainly in India, is something we can learn from. So while I think the answers are sitting really in this room to the India's productivity issue, but lower productivity directly impacts either the quantity or the quality of the final product, and we are painfully aware of this in each one of our businesses, whether we look at watches or jewelry or eyewear. The moment you speed up, you have to be careful about the output quality. So quantity and quality, achieving both simultaneously, obviously, is the only problem that productivity has to address. India's productivity is only 60 to 65% that of China. This represents a huge scope to become I believe we keep lamenting that Indians are like that only. This is something with marketing we keep talking about. But why should we accept that? Finally, we have become smarter across the globe in so many areas. So why not in this area of manufacturing productivity? So productivity has, of course, technology and labor. On the technology side, we know what is really driving productivity these days, which is digitization, automation, Industry 4.0, and R&D expenditure. On the labor side, at least learnings from our own company is better engagement and motivation. There, it is almost like magic, it works, and I know that in China it doesn't work. As in, that is the fundamental difference between Chinese and Indians. We can really motivate, engage Indians to be not just, you don't have to talk to them about more productivity, you have to talk to them about the larger cause, which is for the company to be more prosperous, in which case the company will deliver back prosperity to you, in which case don't you think you have to be more productivity. That logic, for the larger corporation to do well, and in that process I will benefit myself, works in India. In a small microcosm like Titan, it has worked, and it has worked very wonderfully. Even though cost per head or price per head goes up, but output is far superior, at least from our experience. Of course, improving the quality of training and education is something which we already spoke about. Industry government tie-ups to train workforce. I think, again, this Skill India and the whole program that we launched as a country, it has still not reached a level of, let's say, effectiveness which industry needs. And again, if I look at the German model, which is very visible in a company like Bosch, and today Bosch, for the government of India, is the go-to trainer for at least manufacturing skills at a national level. There has to be a certain commitment, I think, from industry on this side. This may have to happen, certainly with large industries coming forward to work with government, rather than looking for sops from government to be able to put it together. I think there is a fundamental difference. Yesterday, we were debating this subject, saying, who is going to trigger growth in the economy? If we are going to all the time look at government to trigger growth, what is our role as corporate bodies? What can we do to trigger growth? Is a serious question we all need to. I certainly, in a company like Titan or in the Tata Group, we need to take some steps to ensure that we can trigger growth. So the need for improved productivity, in short, is really about skilled manpower shortages and increasing cost, traceability and data acquisition, mass customization, accomplish what cannot be done manually, consistency in quality of output, reduce manufacturing lead time and increase production, and improve worker safety and reduce fatigue. I just want to take a few examples from our own experience before I conclude in whatever manner we can on this subject. Just to go back to one more lesson I learned on productivity. We were exploring a new business at one time, and after going through the whole exercise of exploring whether we should get into this business or not, one of the consultants came and said, and he knows I know Hindi, so he said, "Isme aap roti nahi kamaoge." Roti nahi kamaoge. I said, I mean, are you joking? You mean we won't break even, or we won't have enough to eat? No. Roti is ROTI. It's not about ROCE. It is return on time invested. If you get into this business, you'll waste a lot of time. You won't get the return on that time. So I learned one more lesson in productivity. It is not about return on capital employed. It is also return on time employed. Usually we don't cost that time. We think, especially managing directors think that their time is free. Only to, their job is to explore, for the future well-being of the company. So, all the return on capital employed decisions sits on the managing director. But then he said, your time is more valuable, so return on time invested, measure it. So I will take you through maybe a few examples. Why I'm taking this example is we actually operate at two extremes in manufacturing. And I don't want to talk about our retailing and our marketing and our product. We make products which need manufacturing in the traditional sense, which is metal cutting, geometry, and all those things that machine tools do. And then we have the other extreme, which is what watches is all about. Even lens manufacture is in a CNC process and is one at a time and so on. But on the other hand, we have a business which is about craft. It is completely, at one time it was all handmade jewelry, and you still need productivity there. So I'm just going to take a few examples from this and that end, but this first one is sitting in the middle, which is our manufacturing business. It is an only manufacturing business. It is neither watches nor jewelry. This is not about our productivity. This is working with partners and our customers on productivity. This business deals with all kinds of customers, from the automobile industry to energy to life sciences to engineering, and companies which are in these businesses help them improve productivity. I'm just taking a couple of examples. I mean, there are many, but in the interest of time, I won't take you through all of them. This really is for skilled manpower shortages and increasing cost example. Secondary packaging lines, sorting and stacking of carton boxes. I won't tell you the name of the customer, but it's a very, very famous consumer product company for their warehouse automation. And this is their warehouse, depicted, and a solution to reduce operator fatigue and a fully automatic line with 6-axis robot system we developed. Today that company has invited us to set up this line in 18 of their global plants. It's a very famous brand. Beyond that, I'm afraid I cannot share. Traceability and data acquisition for the automotive industry, a clutch assembly line. The concern of the customer was to track the product process parameters at each stage, and the solution was tracking the product assembly using RFID technology to log the process parameters. I'm sure these applications and more are available amongst all of you, but these are designed solutions. So this whole business of ours is, there's no factory, there's only a warehouse, maybe double this size. So we design, we assemble, the customer tests, and then we ship the machine. This is an automation solutions business. So the most productive in that business are those who design the solutions, much like Mr. Ramdas, is a machine tool designer. I will skip the next two or three. This was a very interesting one. Can you imagine, even a pencil, we think it is not such an important product anymore, but pencils are being made in millions in this country, millions. And this customer wanted a pencil sorting machine to avoid manual inspection of the pencil lead, the one which is inside the pencil, and fully automatic testing machine using vision system to segregate into 3 categories at a rate of 25 pencils a second is this equipment that we designed for this customer. Let me go straight to jewelry making. I differentiate between manufacturing and making. I think there is a subtle difference. Just to give you a background, and you might be interested in, some of you might be interested in the business of jewelry. Just to tell you, it is, all of you know, gold is the second largest commodity imported in this country, 700 tons of gold, next to crude. It is a 250,000 to 300,000 crore industry. It is totally unorganized. It has got significant manual manufacturing processes. It is skill driven, it is craft driven, it is regional in its nature. It has poor quality standards by global comparisons. If you were to take a Tiffany or a Cartier, we are nowhere near those. But Indian jewelry is like Indian cuisine. Indian cuisine is very complex and it has spices. Indian jewelry is like that, whereas the Western, concept of jewelry is more geometry and so on. But still, it's a very large industry, employs millions of people, significant exploitation of people in the industry, and surprisingly, while we can say we are the largest, we are still 5% market share in that business. We are the largest, but we really make money at the front end, and we've done a lot at the back end, transformed manufacturing. But pure manufacturing companies have not stepped in to change the profile of this industry. This can really be a globally competitive business for India. And you know what global operators have ended up doing. You're aware of the other Modi they are looking for worldwide and so on. And he was a big name overseas. So that is the nature of the beast in jewelry. So in a very simple way, diamond setting used to be considered as, the most labor-intensive, skill-intensive, craft-intensive operation. And because of our experience in watchmaking and engineering, we said we won't give up on this. We can't be forever ever dependent on skill. Can we translate that into something